The film opens with a charismatic and self-assured Valerie Nguyen, a highly successful motivational speaker, taking the stage in front of a massive adoring crowd. She delivers a powerful message about the parasite inside our minds, that nagging voice of self-doubt that tells us we are not good enough, not smart enough, and not worthy. Valerie shares a personal anecdote about her own struggles, revealing that just 8 years ago she was living in her car and working at a Waffle House. This intimate revelation, a stark contrast to her current glamorous life, immediately establishes her as a beacon of hope and a living testament to her own philosophy. She commands the stage with an almost hypnotic energy, urging her audience to unleash their inner power and become the best version of themselves. Immediately following her electrifying speech, the camera pulls back to reveal the behind-the-scenes reality of Valerie's life. She is a meticulous and demanding boss, intensely focused on perfecting a promotional video for her upcoming world tour Unstoppable. Her assistant Robert and her agent Crystal are clearly stretched thin by her perfectionism. Valerie is relentlessly critical of the video, deeming the music a bit much, the pacing choppy, and a key line about her being a queen as cringe. She insists on reshooting the entire thing despite the tight deadline. This scene introduces the central tension of her character, the stark contrast between the flawless, inspiring persona she projects and the anxious, controlling person she is in private. This contrast is further highlighted when we learn that she has been dealing with an increasingly debilitating skin condition, a chronic and severe itch on her scalp that she compulsively scratches until her fingers are raw. The tour's logistics add another layer of pressure. Crystal informs Valerie that the Chinese leg of the tour requires her original birth certificate. Valerie is visibly stressed by this, as she doesn't know where the document is. She mentions that her father, an addict named Reggie, might have it. Her husband Robbie suggests they drive to see her father to retrieve it, but Valerie dismisses the idea, stating she is too busy with the tour. This brief exchange reveals a deep-seated estrangement from her family and a painful history she'd rather not confront. Instead of facing her past, she immerses herself even more in her work, trying to find a workaround for the bureaucratic hurdle. Her obsession with control is evident here. She'd rather find a workaround than confront a difficult personal situation. Valerie's physical and mental state begins to deteriorate. The scratching becomes more frequent and violent. She has a phone consultation with a doctor who, sensing something deeper than a simple skin condition, suggests that her chronic pruritus might be psychological, possibly related to her family history. Valerie is immediately defensive and dismisses the idea, demanding a stronger prescription instead. She refuses to acknowledge any link between her physical symptoms and her emotional turmoil, a clear sign of her denial and inability to cope with her past trauma. Driven by her need for the birth certificate, Valerie eventually visits her estranged BA, grandmother, at a nail salon. The reunion is awkward and tense. BA points out how Valerie compulsively picks at her cuticles, a habit she's had since she was a child. Valerie asks about her mother and the boxes of keepsakes from their old house, believing the birth certificate might be inside. BA says Valerie's father took the boxes. The conversation takes an eerie turn when BA shows her a picture of a sanchi, a hungry ghost or parasite from Vietnamese folklore. She explains that the sanchi can take over a human host during times of great calamity, poisoning them and growing stronger as the host weakens. The symbolism is heavy-handed but effective, directly linking Valerie's internal struggle to a tangible supernatural threat. Following her grandmother's lead, Valerie tracks down her father Reggie to a self-storage facility. The encounter is cold and distant. Reggie is unhelpful, claiming not to know anything about the boxes. Valerie notices him scratching his head in the same way she does. This parallel suggests a hereditary link to their shared torment. When Valerie breaks into her father's locker, she finds only an old shoebox containing a key. She has another violent scratching episode, her inner turmoil manifesting physically. The scene is interrupted by a starstruck fan who recognizes her from her books and saves her from the security guard. As the tour launch looms, Valerie's behavior becomes more erratic and volatile. Her relationship with Robbie, which was already strained, begins to fracture. She reveals a deep-seated resentment toward her father and a painful curiosity about her mother's death. She tells Robbie she believes her mother's death was not an accident, as he suggests, but a result of the same curse that now plagues her. The line between Val's public persona and her private self is completely gone. During an intimate moment, she violently scratches Robbie's chest, leaving deep bleeding wounds. When he confronts her, she is detached and almost emotionless, apologizing with a hollow, rehearsed tone. The physical and psychological attacks intensify. Valerie's scratching becomes a full-blown assault on her own body. She violently attacks herself, leaving a bloody, chaotic scene in their bedroom. Robbie tries to intervene, but she lashes out at him, screaming at him not to try and control her. In a moment of vulnerability, she finally confesses that something inside her head is making her do these things and that it's not me. As she says this, her eyes turn completely black, a visual confirmation that the Sanchi has taken over. The films is a chilling return to Valerie's public life. She is on stage once again, delivering an inspiring speech to a captivated audience. The wounds on her scalp are gone and her face is perfect. The parasitic entity has taken complete control, using her as a vessel to project a false aspirational message. The final shot is of her eyes, which are now completely black, revealing the dark truth beneath her flawless exterior. The unstoppable force she preaches about is not her own strength, but the malevolent power of the entity that has consumed her. The film ends on this disturbing note, a powerful and tragic commentary on the cost of denial and the danger of ignoring our inner demons. The film continues to delve into the deteriorating state of Valerie Nguyen, a successful motivational speaker whose public persona as a beacon of self-improvement clashes with her private reality. The movie opens with a distressed Robbie, Valerie's husband, trying to reach her by phone, but her mailbox is full. He is clearly at his wit's end, and his frustration reveals the deep chasm that has opened between them. This scene is a stark contrast to Valerie's public image as she delivers a motivational speech about the true self that dives deeper and builds a foundation of good habits. The disconnect between her words and her actions is now the central theme of the narrative. Valerie's BA, grandmother, appears at her home unannounced. Their conversation is tense and cryptic. BA tells Valerie she is infected with the Sanchi, the hungry ghost she mentioned earlier. Valerie dismisses this as a sign of her grandmother's addiction, but BA insists that the Sanchi is a hereditary parasite that preys on self-inflicted harm. She warns Valerie that she will keep hurting herself again and again until there's nothing left. Valerie, still in denial, kicks her grandmother out, but Ba's words clearly get under her skin. Valerie's desperation escalates. She calls Robbie, trying to explain that her father came over and gave her something, and now she believes something is inside her. But the call cuts out, leaving her alone with her spiraling paranoia. Fueled by a new, more sinister motivation, she confronts her grandmother at the nail salon. She finds a hidden stash of drugs and threatens to expose her to the abbot, demanding answers. In a shocking confrontation, BA confesses that she summoned the Sanchi, passing it to Valerie's mother, and now it has passed to Valerie. She reveals that the Sanchi feeds on self-harm, and the more they hurt themselves, the stronger it grows. BA tells a harrowing story of her daughter Valerie's mother, who in a final desperate act tried to kill the Sanchi by taking her own life. The story sends Valerie into a panicked fury, and she storms out, still unable to accept the supernatural explanation. The climactic moment arrives as Valerie is scheduled to take the stage for her tour. Crystal and Robert are frantically trying to get her to the venue, but Valerie, in a moment of clarity and desperation, tries to call off the tour. She finds Robbie and makes an impassioned plea, telling him she loves him and will do whatever it takes to fix things. She offers to cancel the tour to prove her commitment to him and their family. But Robbie, having been hurt by her too many times, no longer believes her. He leaves her with a cutting remark, "Good luck," and goes back to his work. Heartbroken and alone, Valerie walks onto the stage. Her prepared speech is a complete departure from her usual motivational material. She delivers a raw, cynical, and brutally honest message about the cold, indifferent world and the futility of seeking external help. She tells the audience that they are alone, that the cavalry isn't coming, and that no one can save them. She then violently scratches her head, tearing into her scalp in front of the stunned audience. The scratching is so aggressive that it visibly bleeds through the head wrap she is wearing. This shocking display reveals the terrifying reality behind her public facade. The film then transitions to Valerie in a hospital bed, recovering from a self-inflicted cranial injury. The doctor explains that a bacterial infection fueled by her constant scratching had softened the bone, allowing her to penetrate her own skull. He mentions that damage to her frontal lobe could cause hallucinations and delusions. Robbie is by her side, supportive and remorseful. He admits that he now believes her, that he saw it, and that they can fix this together. But the Sanchi is still with her, manifesting as her own reflection in a mirror, mocking her and encouraging her to give up. This manifestation of the Sanchi serves as a constant reminder that the parasite is not just a physical affliction but a psychological tormentor. Valerie's journey is far from over. She begins to hallucinate, seeing the Sanchi in her reflection and having vivid, terrifying flashbacks. The Sanchi taunts her, telling her that no one loves her and that she is a failure. It tries to convince her that her only escape is to give in to her self-destructive urges. In a moment of intense panic, she grabs a nearby surgical knife, but Robbie intervenes just in time. The parasite, enraged by her attempt at resistance, drives her to self-harm again, this time with a needle. In the final act, Valerie is alone in her home. She has a heart-to-heart with the Sanchi, admitting that she is scared and doesn't know what she's doing. She asks if they can come to some kind of arrangement, but the Sanchi laughs at her, calling her pathetic and unlovable. It mocks her for believing in her own self-help principles, revealing the truth of its parasitic nature. It cannot be reasoned with. The Sanchi tells her that her only option is to follow her mother's example and take her own life. Just as Valerie is about to do it, Robbie appears and stops her. He then finds the Sanchi, which has now fully taken on its physical form, a grotesque worm-like creature feeding on her bloody head wound. He confronts it, and the Sanchi looks at him and says, "It's me." The creature then leaps from her head and into his mouth, infecting him. The movie ends with Robbie comforting a terrified Valerie, telling her he has her, as he says to himself, "It's me." If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.